And with that diploma, the world opens up, because if he has it and functions at that level, he can go to a community college and take what's necessary to get a decent job in the economic system that we have. Because without the community college degree, at least, it's far more difficult to get a salary that enables you to live. And so I've now reached a point where I'm saying what I've learned in higher ed, I could now transpose into the K-12 system and change the orientation. So I have a blog. It's called The Student is the Class. I wrote that a couple of years ago. Each student is the class. And with the infusion of technology, the computer, etc., we can now provide the computer-assisted instruction to students, especially in math and English, which are the two cultural imperatives to produce a self-learner. And that's what we have to learn to do. So that's where change comes in. And it's not that we don't need a teacher. We need a teacher as well, but not the timekeeper for every student. Yes, sir.
Question. You mentioned this several times about quality and rigor, and you've implied that high-quality faculty is what helped the institution get its start. You brought in people who were well-respected and no one would really criticize. How do we maintain that quality today? What should the leaders of an institution like this or others do to be sure that the quality of the education delivered at a distance measures up to what expectations might be?
Well, you organize it so in such a way that there's enough interchange between the students that are the clients and the dialogues available within the institution that it doesn't take you long before you end up with the feedback you need. And then you send some colleagues in and see if they can help. And then if they can help or the person really lacks the ability or knowledge base, you let them go. And in Nova, there is no tenure. We had a 3-year contract. First we had a 1-year contract, and a 2-year contract, and a 3-year contract. And it doesn't take you long to weed them out. But you've got to be honest and weed them out.
So it really comes down to high-quality faculty.
Yeah, you want to keep the best you can get. And you have to pay a decent salary. Nova has always been a number one paying school. This university pays the equivalent of what you'd get in other institutions. So,
I got another.
Sure, go ahead.
The concept of diploma mill has not gone away, as we all know. Read the paper. What do we need to do to ensure that this concept of diploma mill that may be more relevant to is more relevant to other institutions doesn't cloud us? What are the strategies to ensure that, and it's I guess a takeoff question of the last one, what are the strategies to make sure that the concept of diploma mill doesn't cloud this whole distance education movement?
I don't think that's it's a good question. I'll answer that one, but I don't think distance education is going to be gone, regardless of what some people say. In fact, the two big for-profit institutions, they're not under threat, which is Kaplan and Phoenix. They're not under threat. Nova is no longer under threat in this area. The biggest problem Nova is that they don't think they're as respectable as they would be if they go through the independent accreditations. And the independent accreditations are still looking at input instead of output. And so the business school here is doing that. And what they're doing is becoming more yesterday than tomorrow. And the law school is a good illustration. When we started the law school, it had to go through. They weren't going to come if we didn't have tenure. So I had to come back here and set it up, this faculty and everybody. Either we close the law school up, or you have to let me have tenure in faculty in the law school and nowhere else in the university, because I'm not going to do it. And they voted to allow me to do it. So the only place we have tenure is in the law school. Now they don't demand that any longer in the process, but they did then. Yes?
Dr. Fischler, speaking of tenure, as you know, the school reform movement all over this country is looking at the tenure provisions for K-12. What is your opinion of keeping tenure in K-12 versus, incentive pay for performance?
I don't think we should have lifetime contracts. People change, interests change, etc. So in general, I never worried about tenure. And personally, and I had enough confidence in myself that I could find a job. But in the public school, it's a little different. It's a little different. I think there should be some security of some length. So if you're a teacher after 3 years and you get off probation, some 5 years, once every 5 years you get examined, something that's reasonable and gives you confidence. But I don't think you should have tenure, and the only way I can get you out is if you committed something that's drastic. So some blend of that. But I'm not there anymore. Yes, sir.
As a doctoral student in the ITD program in Fischler, one of the projects that I currently am looking at is open courseware, very similar to what MIT and several hundred other organizations throughout the world is doing. I was wondering if NOVA has looked at that as a possibility or considering it?
I really can't answer that question. I stepped out of the presidency in '92, and once I stepped out of the presidency, I moved out of this building and moved to East Campus, and I try to mind my own business.